We try to be very transparent. People that it just doesn't fit, is there a type of person where it's like, okay, yeah, this probably isn't the right fit for you?
Some people, they kind of have the mindset of get rich quick. You don't just pay for something and expect money to come in. It's your business. You need to treat it like a business.
The idea that multiple people can't be in one market is an absolutely insane thing. That's like having one roofer in Cincinnati, Ohio.
I want to stand out. I'm targeting a very competitive area. I'm actually handwriting each envelope that I'm sending out, and I'm writing out the offer price.
Like, it seems like weekly now, people are like putting in announcements in the member success channel on our Discord. Like, I'm quitting my job, put in my 2 weeks. Land investing is the future for me. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Ron Apke, joined by my co-host, Anthony Weiler. Anthony, welcome back. And today we are talking about, is it too late to get started in land flipping in 2024? And it seems like we have to do one of these episodes every few months, it seems like, Anthony. It's always something, and understandably so. Like, if I'm looking to get into something, I'm going to ask that, like, have I missed it a little bit? Is there still opportunity? Are people starting from scratch and building something big? And you probably did. When I started land flipping, land investing, like people asked it. I know when you started a few years ago, we were talking about that. Like a few years ago, people were talking about it, and it's always something because it's an external thing that people want to not make an excuse, but look for a reason why not, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you brought that up because we were talking about this a couple of days. I'm like, man, I remember when I first started, this was always talked about. Is it too late to get started? Did I miss the boat? Which is a common thing to, think. I mean, if you're starting a business, you want to not only look for reasons of why this is going to work, but you want to look at the potential risk, right? Like, how many people are involved in this? Is there too much competition? Is this something I could actually make something happen, right?
The mistake isn't like doing your due diligence up front before you commit to something. The issue I see from people is when they committed to it and then maybe they have a little hurdle and then they're asking that question like, oh, maybe it's too, you know what I mean? Opposed to like people who are committed from they made a decision, stick to your decision, take action and make things happen. And that's really at the end of the day what people need to do who are getting started into this now. Or if you just started 3 months ago and you're having some struggles, like this might be crossing your mind. I'm telling you, there is better things. And you've heard story after story on this podcast, people sitting in Anthony's chair who have said the same thing. Like the first 6 months there's ups and downs for sure. Yep. Like there are ups and downs the first 6 months. People who get past that are extremely successful. But I mean, what do you kind of suggest, Anthony, for people's due diligence? Like if they're deciding, not necessarily is it too late, we're not talking about that right now, but when they're doing due diligence on this business model as a whole.
Yeah. So I get this question a lot on consultation calls, and I always tell people, one, I mean, you're doing the right thing by scheduling a consultation call. You're asking questions with people who have done this for quite some time. Also taking a look at YouTube University, like who's talking about land, what does their experience look like? Are there communities to join? I tell people on consultation calls that, hey, it's one thing to hear it from me. Obviously, I'm going to be a little bit biased. See a look at who's members, even who's not a member. Just ask them what their experience has been like. What does the land flipping space look like? Hear it from themselves. And so I would really start there. And then when you're ready to pull the trigger, like invest in education. But I would really start there. Just communicate, network, hear from other people, do your research, and make a business decision. Yeah,
I 100% agree with that. It's you got to commit. You got to make sure it's the right fit for you. Like, how much time is it going to take? Yep. How much money is it going to take? Do you have the funds? Like, or do you have that entrepreneurship spirit? Like, some people are meant to work a 9 to 5. Like, it's not like anything against, but the risk of any business you're starting, there is risk in starting a business. You're going to be putting money up. You're not going to have a comfortable paycheck every 2 weeks starting a land flipping business. It's just not the reality. But the upside of you making $100,000 on a deal, $200,000 a deal, that's really the reality of it. But what, Anthony, I guess the people who are like asking or saying this is too late, they missed it. The thing about it is there's always strategies changing. You know what I mean? Yep. Follow-up texting, cold calling, mail is still unbelievably efficient and works very well. Does it still work? 1,000,000%. Have strategies changed in the last 24 months? Absolutely. And that's why we are so strict in keeping up with our education, why we're acquiring so much land ourselves and not just doing education. But what are your thoughts on the kind of the strategy, evolution of strategies over time?
Yeah, I think, I mean, with any business strategies are going to change. So you always need to look like, hey, what's working, what's not working, what are other people doing, what's making them successful, what's not making people successful. Am I doing the right things? Let me collect data based off my mailers. Should I implement text messages? Should I implement cold calling as well? How do I do on the phones? Like you nailed it on the head earlier, the entrepreneurial spirit. And what I think about is someone always trying to improve themselves. And I think that's very, very important. And when people ask that question as well, like, is this going to work when you reach an obstacle? Landon said it best too. The only way this isn't going to work is if I decide to quit.
Yep.
So I think it's really important to just always focus on improving yourself, and you'll find bottlenecks. And as you continuously tweak that, you'll find new strategies to implement. And if something's working, just hit the ground running and keep doing it.
And there's so many lessons, like as you're making mistakes, I don't want to say everyone's going to make 100, everyone's going to make different mistakes.
Yep.
But mistakes are inevitable when you're starting a business for sure. Having education, having a course, having a program behind you definitely can limit some of them, but it's still going to happen. But learning from those mistakes, learning by sending mail with the wrong address, with a pricing mail wrong. Like there's so many different mistakes that can happen in situations that we've heard. Like you just got to take it, learn, adjust, and improve. And that's really all you can do when you're starting in this business. And like we talked about, strategies are going to constantly be changing. Who are you telling, like when you have consultations, and we try to be very transparent. So people have calls with us, ask us essentially like, look into our course, look into our program. Who are you telling like, yeah, this not necessarily directly saying this probably isn't for you, but like there's people that it just doesn't fit. Is there a type of person, type of situation where it's like, okay, yeah, this probably isn't the right fit for you?
Yeah, there's some people, they kind of have the mindset of get rich quick is things that I have noticed with some consultation calls. And that's where it's like, you know, it's a reality check in terms of like, hey, you're going to have to put in work on the business. You're going to have to invest in education. You don't just pay for something and expect money to come in. And so you kind of get that vibe with consultation calls. And that's where I'm like, okay, do research a little bit more. And I don't tell them like, hey, this isn't a good fit. Because there are people that have proved me wrong before in the past. So I never want to put anyone into a box by any means. So I always tell them like, hey, do your research. This is the type of legwork I had to put in to make it successful. These are some of the mistakes I made. Just don't expect to just put money into this and just step back and watch the money come in. Like it's your business. You need to treat it like a business.
Yeah. Some people love like spending money on, I don't want to say education, but some people spend money on education, then they never do anything. Like part of this, like, it is not you pay for a course, you pay for education, you pay for a program, and then results happen. Like that is a blueprint that is going to help you along the way, but the action is coming on you. Let's get into, Anthony, a little bit about the market saturation, stuff like that. Like, let's just talk about that. I want to touch base on that because I know that's going to be a lot of reason why people clicked in this video. So the idea that multiple people can't be in one market is an absolutely insane thing. That's like having one roofer in Cincinnati, Ohio, one plumber in Cincinnati, Ohio. Like the market is a market. There is competition within markets, 100%, but there are also thousands and thousands of vacant parcels in every single county. So having the competitive spirit, I think, in a good way to be able to communicate with sellers, being able to provide sellers, like the people who get the most deals provide the sellers the most value, not necessarily monetarily. You know what I mean? It's where they provide sellers value, quick money. They make it easy on the sellers. The sellers never feel like they're going to back out. But let's just talk about like 3-4 people in the same market. What does that look like? How do you kind of separate yourself?
Yeah, so it's just really, I would say, like buying into your strengths. Like for me, there's a county that I was targeting, and the guy was like, you know, I receive letters all the time, but, you know, just speaking to you, like, I trust you, I want to sell to you. And I was like, okay, great. Like, this is my unique value proposition, is that I'm able to relate to the seller. I don't mind spending like 30 minutes on a phone call and like really going back and forth and building that relationship. And I mean, if there's multiple people that are targeting an area, and I get this question all the time too, like, hey, is that oversaturated? And you nailed it on the head again. Like there's not just one roofing business. There's not just one restaurant, right?
Insane.
So like, it's crazy. So it's like, what are you going to do to make yourself stand out? And that's where people adapt, in my opinion. That's when people get a little bit creative. Are you Is your offer letters or anything making you stand out? Are you doing anything creative? Is it color coded? Is there a logo of your company? Is there a unique value proposition in your copywriting? Like, are you doing anything to make yourself stand out? Are you thinking about those things? And even if there's multiple people targeting that area, which happens all the time, we get multiple deals brought into us from people targeting that same county. Like, I can't tell you how many times we've seen like multiple deals come in from counties in like South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, the areas people are like, you cannot go there. It's way oversaturated, but people are still bringing deals there. And you have to think about it. A lot of it is just the timing of things and how many touch points you're doing and what is your unique value proposition, and just finding little things you could tweak to be more competitive. What's going to make you stand out? And I know that was a long-winded answer, but I mean, that's what encompasses that, in my opinion.
I like that unique value proposition a lot. Like, think about it from your perspective. Like, what is your unique value proposition when you're reaching out to sellers to buy their land? You got everyone's trying to buy it under market value. Like, we're not the only people. Just because you're not getting the deal, it does, like, you cannot just look at, oh, someone's paying more money. Like, it's just an excuse. You got to take advantage of your leads. People want to do business with people they trust and people they can relate to, like you said. And that's where if someone talks to you, or you don't answer the phone when someone calls, or the first time you talk to someone, like, you just don't really mesh or something, they're probably not going to do business with you. And that's kind of reality. If you can get on their level, talk to them from what you can provide them, opposed to, I have a $20,000 offer, I can get you $20,000. What's it going to look like from them, from their side of things? And then, like, that's the closing aspect. You also need to think about, how are you contacting these people? Like Anthony said, separating your letter, making your letter look a little different, texting them, calling them, all that stuff adds up. And that's why that's what separates the top land investors from the land investors who aren't doing deals or aren't doing as many deals. And it's just such an external thing when people start talking about competition in a market. Like, what industry, like, stay in a 9-to-5, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you'll get a paycheck every 2 weeks. What industry doesn't have competition in the market? Like, monopolies aren't a thing for a reason, because competition's a good thing for most, and it's just a real thing. Like, there's competition in markets. Not every market, though. That's the greatest thing about this business, is it is not every market in the country where there's gonna be 3, 4, or 5 people. There are markets for sure like that, but there's markets where they haven't seen a letter. There's an area I'm thinking about that I'm not going to say on here, but a member has just been getting deal after deal after deal after deal. And it's like, okay, those sellers probably have never talked to anyone like us.
Yeah. Yep. And that's the thing too. I mean, there's over 3,000 counties.
Yeah, like 3,300 counties.
And then you just take the strategies and frameworks that we've presented, you learn that, and then it's like, okay, where can I stand out? And I think I know the individual that you're talking about, and he's like, well, I live in this area, I understand it well. And yeah, he's just getting a boatload of deals. And there's people I talk to as well, just really honing in on being competitive and standing out. There's one individual, he works at a hotel, and he's like, hey, I just work at the front desk. I have a lot of time on my hands. And one way I want to stand out, I'm targeting a very competitive area. I'm actually handwriting each envelope that I'm sending out, and I'm writing out the offer price. And his callback rate is insane. Like, he's getting like double or triple of what you expect from someone sending out regular blind offers. But he understands, like, this is a highly competitive area. I have the time advantage. I'm going to put in that work. I don't care if my wrist gives out or if my fingers give out writing all of these letters. And his results are crazy. So just, again, being competitive, finding ways to be strategic and to stand out, and use that as leverage.
And the thing is that we've been talking for 15, 17 minutes, however far we are in this episode. We're just talking about buying at 50% and selling at 100%. And the competition on that. We're not even talking about niches, like the ability to do different things with deals. And that's when you can separate yourself in a whole different way. If you have subdivision plans, if you have improvement plans, if you want to put a mobile home on it. So, I mean, to answer the question, the big question of this episode, like, absolutely not. It's not too late to get started. We have so many cases of people who have started in the last 2, 3, 4 months who are just change their lives. We have people who are quitting their jobs. Like, it seems like weekly now, people are like putting announcements in the member success channel on our Discord. Like, I'm quitting my job, put in my 2 weeks. land investing is the future for me, whatever it is. And those are really, really cool stories to see. I know you're kind of, you've talked to a lot of those people one-on-one, so I'm sure it's cool for you.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. And the biggest thing is they're always consistent. They're competitive. They're looking for ways to stand out. And if something's not working, they're like, well, I'm going to figure it out. And it's the biggest thing. And again, the title of this episode, or is like what we're talking about, is this too competitive? I mean, if you want to see something that's competitive, just look at wholesaling real estate, right? Like take a look at that market and then you'd be like, oh, okay, this is definitely nowhere near as saturated as that. I mean, again, I don't think this is saturated by any means. If you're in an area that feels saturated or sellers are telling you, I'm getting all of these letters, again, find ways to stand out, be competitive. Don't be shy to take action at the end of the day.
Well, if you guys like that episode, if you guys are watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Let us know in the comments what your thought is. If you guys are listening on Apple or Spotify, share this with a friend. Put it on your Instagram story. Tag us, tag me. We'd really, really appreciate it. Other than that, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
As always, thank you for joining. Please do us a huge favor and like and subscribe our YouTube channel and share this with a friend. It really means the world to Ron and I, but more importantly, it could help change the life of someone else. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next episode.